Hello, my name is Beth Collington. I'm Director of Digital Materials and Laboratory Equipment with Zahn Dental Laboratory, a division of Henry Schein. Good morning. I'm here with Mike Holwick today, CDT, President of Dental Masters Laboratory and Durametrics in Santa Rosa, California. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Mike,
It's a pleasure.
yeah, we really do appreciate your time. I know you've been very, very busy during this entire pandemic. And Mike, you've really done some very exciting things to help rejuvenate the dental laboratory industry, as well as keep your own company operational. And I'd really like to spend a few minutes kind of understanding how you've responded to this crisis.
Well, here in the state of California, in the middle of March, the shutdown went into effect. And as it then subsequently did really for the entire dental lab and dental world in the United States. And I think for all of us, we had work in process and we knew that that was going to be a priority. But at the same time, we knew that we're not going to have any new work coming in. So as my dear dad used to say, who passed away the beginning of March, nothing happens till you make it happen. So as I looked at the situation, it occurred to me, what can we do to keep our team busy in anticipation of getting the triple P SBA funds? I knew that we would have dollars available for payroll. And naturally, the thought becomes, well, okay, you have dollars for payroll, but you don't have work coming in the door. What can you do with those dollars? And certainly one of the things that we have focused on is making sure that our team is acquiring additional education in areas that we want to become more competent, more expert at. Things like all on fours, things like getting into the world of printed dentures. These are new areas for us. And so we have made a decision to have people go through additional education and making product. The same thing has held true with regard to making samples. Every laboratory needs samples. So we've spent a fair amount of time producing additional samples, not only for our lab-to-lab customers, which is what Durametrics does. We work for other labs making both metal-based and metal-free partials. So we've produced a lot of samples in the last couple of weeks to help our lab customers bring new business in the door, which certainly is something I think that everyone will want to focus on in the coming weeks as things open up, is laboratories that are not as busy as they were. I would think that they're going to be more open to looking for ways to bring business in the door, because the normal that we're going to is not the normal that we had in the past. And we have to adapt to that. So beyond that, the opportunity to get into things like masks is something that we looked at, decided not to make masks, and instead partnering with Al Sablani at EnvisionTec and the Envision One printer, we have been able to get into the production of NP swabs.
Well, it sounds like you've been very responsive and on a very quick timeline to meet the needs of your customers. And I think that you've been a true advocate to those customers and really set an excellent example for many of your peers within the industry. So thank you, especially with some of the guidelines that you had published and sent out via email. So I know you had put out a document that really gave labs some guidelines on what to do during this down period of time. Did you want to briefly touch upon some of that?
Well, some of the things that we outlined, I've already covered. Things like education. What can we become better at? What do we not really offer right now that we would like to offer, and we've not had the time to do it? Training in laboratories quite often is a challenge, because if the laboratory is busy, when do you make the time? And the reality is you have to make the time one way or another. So this is a grand opportunity for labs to take advantage of that on the educational side and on the sample side. I think the same thing has been true for labs and still is right now, even though things aren't 100% open, to look at the marketing side of the laboratory, to look at the system side, even to look at things like organization and cleanliness and improving systems. This has been the great pause. That pause is probably ending as we see it today. And so there's still some time to take advantage of the slowdown. I think we'll probably not be as busy as usual for quite some time. And we would like to go back to that. But if you just look at the reality that dentists are not going to be as productive as they can be if they're fully complying with the CDC requirements, I don't expect as much production out of a typical dental office as we saw before. Even things like IT, there are dental labs out there from the one person to the 100 plus person. An opportunity like this has been a good time for labs to take a second look at how secure is our IT system? How secure is our backup? How secure are we in the event that we had a fire and we lost everything? Do we have the necessary documentation to get replacement computers ordered, the software reinstalled, et cetera? So I think this has been a good time, and I think we still have some time ahead to take advantage, particularly for labs that have gotten those PPP funds. And I know that's a real hassle to go through that paperwork process. But the government's made it clear, if when you get the funds, you apply them toward payroll, that's a forgivable loan. So I think that's a win for everybody.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Mike, do you see a shift in the type of work that will be coming back to your laboratory as the industry starts to reopen? Do you see a trend or anticipate a focus on cases coming in more on the removable side or more on the fixed side? And how do you plan on responding to get the business back to a normal platform?
Well, I can't predict exactly what consumers are going to do. I think there's a number of things to think about. 2 out of 10 people, according to today's news in the United States, lost their job in the month of April. So, and there's unknowns now with the reopening. There's a concern that we're going to see a resurgence and possible local, regional, state shutdowns again. So these are all areas of concern. I think there are consumers out there assuming that they feel safe going to the dentist, that they may be thinking about, at some point I might lose my job. And we saw this in the past, in my 42 years now in dentistry, where going into a recession, we see an uptick when people start to be concerned about losing their jobs. So if anything, we may see an uptick in elective choices. We may not. On the other hand, you may see people, certainly the ones that don't have dental insurance, say, that crown, this repair or whatever can wait. So I think there's a big question mark out there right now as far as what the mix is going to be. It's anybody's guess. Certainly the individuals out there that have the money, that have wanted to get their smile redone, I think they're still going to get it done. That would apply toward the world of plastic surgery or anything else. The elective procedures where the money's there, I think, if anything, people are going to be chomping at the bit to get that accomplished.
Yeah, no, we agree, and we hope so as well. Mike, with so many states, putting their procedures in place to reopen and get business back to, an even keel or as close as possible in the current circumstances, I mean, what do you feel is a true timeline for recovery in your state?
My projection is this. I think that through the end of June, March, April, May, into June, we'll probably be down by 90+% for that time frame. I think as we look at the third quarter, my guess is that if we're down by 50%, I'll consider ourselves fortunate. I certainly want our industry to be doing better than down 50%. And the fourth quarter, I would hope that, again, assuming we are able to mitigate and suppress the virus and we're disciplined in personal protection, then I would think maybe we're only down by 10 or 20%. First quarter of next year, second quarter, particularly when those vaccines become available, I think things will change dramatically. But right now, I just wrote an opinion piece last night that we are at war. And it's hard to imagine ourselves at war because the enemy that we're fighting is unseen. In World War II, my dad's generation, that greatest generation, we knew who the enemy was. It was real. It was tangible. It was other human beings. This is an invisible attack. And it's very hard for us to, in a lot of ways, just as human beings, to take it as seriously as we need to. And I certainly hope that, as responsible citizens, and not only in the United States, but throughout the world, people just recognize that the discipline of wearing the masks and the physical distancing and all of these other things, testing, all these things really need to be done. And considering what Americans went through in World War II, both the sacrifice we made at home and those that went abroad, I mean, this is nothing. The inconvenience that we're putting up with right now, and I would hope that our leaders would do a better job of communicating that point. That people are dying, and I lost my father at the beginning of March, and the symptoms were COVID-like symptoms. At that point, it was early on. They really weren't looking for it. But I can tell you, that respiratory failure is not a pleasant way to leave this earth. So people need to be reminded of that when people, particularly those who are vulnerable, the elderly and those with preconditions, this is a serious thing. And I know we all want to get back to dates and dances. That's all part of life. But we also have to recognize that this is something that is not going to go away by itself. We have to deal with it.
I'm very sorry about your father. That's a tragedy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mike, you spent many, many years building your business, all of your businesses, right? And, you've been very successful. And I think you truly are an advocate for this industry. What message of hope would you like to leave to your peers in the industry? And what message do you want to give them, especially the ones that are absolutely struggling at this point and considering closing their doors?
Well, I would say, number one of the greatest lessons I've learned in this life is you're not alone, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Whether it's to reach out to people like Zahn and Argent and Ivoclar and other companies where they can not only work with you on the vendor side, but give you insight. Everyone knows someone who has had struggles in this life. I think as Winston Churchill said, never give up. The demand for restorative dental care was strong. It will continue to be strong. And for those that want to stay in the business, that need to stay in the business, I think the number one thing is to keep your hand on the wheel, take that deep breath, and ask for help. Small business owners are the lifeblood of the American economy. And we are in a new world now for dental labs. It's a digital world. I see what Zahn and Shine are doing. It's incredible. The financing opportunities that the company's doing, both not only with money that's owed, but also on the equipment side. I think now's a really good time for laboratories to take a look at the dental lab landscape. And if they're still in the analog world, now's a really good time to recognize that it's now a digital world. And to really, I think, also just recognize, what type of lab do you want? What type of lab are you? And are you really happy with who you are as a laboratory? What do you want to stand for? Are you the Ace Hardware store, expert and friendly, or are you the Home Depot? Those are important decisions for labs to make going forward. But I guess my number one message is you're not alone, and reach out to the dental lab industry, to those your CPA, bankers, others that can give you good advice. I think what happens for a lot of entrepreneurs, they tend to put it all on their own backs, their own shoulders, and think that they have to figure it out all themselves. That's not how success is built. Success is built on teams and having a vision and having a great culture. And certainly Shine's a wonderful example of that. So when you take a vision and great culture and you combine it with compelling business models, then you've got something that works. And it could be a hot dog stand or it could be a dental laboratory, but it's those simple fundamentals that have to be there in order to have success.
Incredibly well said. I'm very proud to be a member of Team Shine. And at Zahn, our customers can always rely on us. And we appreciate your time, your business, and your commitment to everybody across the dental lab industry. Mike, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I hope you have an excellent, excellent day and keep up the great work. A lot of people are watching how you're responding to this. So thank you for your time.
Everybody keep up the good work. Stay on the cycle. You got to keep pedaling.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Mike. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.